Yo, what is up, guys? It is your boy Forte, and this is Damage Per Second Podcast, episode 187. I am joined by two amazing people, one being the best co-host you could definitely have in the entire world, a person that doesn't judge me. He tells me he loves me every day, and I tell him I love him every day, even knowing
People gonna take that the
e-
wrong
e-
way.
well, they can hear you, but even knowing, the reason we're late, even knowing the reason we're late isn't because of him, is definitely because of me. But I definitely want to announce the man, the myth, the legend, the man of many slaps, the man that's been putting out videos for all of your first Descendant needs and questions. Slow mo backslap, what has been up with you, bro? What you got going on? How you been over the course of the last week? I missed you.
I've been good, man. It's I've been enjoying some First Descendant, like you said, but I've also been playing like a lot of Elden Ring, and I've been like getting into like thinking of different builds and then seeing what other people's builds are and going, okay, let's work with that and then make it a little different, like do things that I would want to do with that build and not what they doing. Because you know, when someone does a build video for Elden Ring and you're like, oh, okay, that's interesting. I think I want to try that out just to see what it's like. Like that's like a good dozen hours of gameplay. Because hey, you're gonna need this one item. It's called the Shard of Alexander. And it's just like, oh, okay,
Is
all
that
right.
a real thing?
It is absolutely a real thing. And so I'm like, all right, let me see. Do I already have the Shard of Alexander? I'm checking my inventory. No, I don't have it. Okay, let's see how to find that. Oh my God. And you just look down like this entire quest line
How many steps
of
is
this
it?
guy named Alexander. And you have to go literally all over the freaking map before you finally get this one. It's an awesome item, but before you finally get this one item to add to your build. And so that's kind of what I'm doing. And I'm still dealing with that whole situation where, you know how, and everyone who's played Elden Ring has known this. When you look at the map and you're just like, so how do I get over here? How do I get over
How do
there?
I get over there?
I can look at it, but I'm like on this cliff that's like 500 feet in the air. And if I just jump off with my horse, I'm gonna die. Even though sometimes it looks like I should have been able to make that drop, and no, you can't. And so I'm just like, how do I get anywhere? Is the real question, you know? So I'm trying to figure that out. I'm trying to get to a certain location in the game to go find a guy. I gotta fight a boss, then talk to a guy, then I gotta meet him somewhere else, then fight him in order to get this item. Just one item out of many items that I need to add to create this awesome faith build that I'm trying to put together. But I just been doing that, man. It ain't really much been going on in gaming. I'm glad there isn't that much going on, so that I can kind of focus in on First Descendant, which I've been having a lot of fun with. But I know we're gonna talk about it later. So yeah, that's about it, man.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I saw you streaming, and I saw you giving to the business, talking crazy to people in chat as usual. But yeah, you looking like you
Who,
have
me?
yeah. Oh my God, did you just literally give that? What is that from? Where someone says, "Who, me?" That's a me from somewhere.
I don't know what you're talking about. I would never do such a thing.
Oh my God. Okay, well, moving on. We also have
By the way, it's uploading now, so you'll be able
yeah,
to grab that gameplay.
I definitely want. Oh yeah, that too. I definitely looking forward to. Um, are you making a video on the steps on this quest that's taking you around the world to get this one particular item for this fake build? Are you gonna make a video on that?
And Elden Ring, nah, no, I'm not. No, because everyone's done it already, and I don't
But
think it would like.
maybe I want your commentary on it though. Hearing your tears of frustration as you try to get this thing, how it's got you running from one end of the earth
If
to the
if
other.
anything, if I make a video, it's going to be about like,
You should make
can
a
we
short on it.
can we be honest about From Software and their shortcomings? Because like it really shouldn't be like their cappers defend everything they do, and I think this From Software is a S tier developer, not for. I mean, they're S tier, but they have their shortcomings and certain like technical wise. All their games are super buggy. All their games have a ton of issues. They don't really tend to innovate their craft or whatever, right? And when I say that, I mean on a technical level, they don't seem to want to adapt uh, common sense things that other developers put in. They're kind of slow to do those things, kind of like Nintendo in a way. And
Nintendo.
people get really like defensive whenever you criticize anything that From Software does. And this is their real first foray into an open world environment. So I'm not trying to be like the game came out 2 years ago, and I was pretty lenient on them in my review in regards to that. But like they did, Shadow of the Earth Tree, amazing DLC, just as bad with like, how do I get here? How do I get there? Like, like not everyone has all the time in the world to search every nook and cranny and figure out how to get certain places. Like I know there are people who have figured out how to get to every part of the Shadow Realm, in Earth Tree, and more power to them. But I ain't got the time for that. So, like, what is the quickest way to get to a certain area? And I think that like right now, if I did a video about anything that I'm doing with Elden Ring right now, it's going to be kind of nitpicky. So I'm just going to leave it be because it's I'm not trying to nitpick a game that I think is very very enjoyable. So
Yeah, that's good. I'm glad you're saying that because I installed it yesterday, like right before I went to sleep last night, because I saw you jumped on Elden Ring last night, and then I was like, oh well, someone's on Elden Ring. I said, well, you know what? I know he's gonna be playing First Descendant, and I know I played in the beta with you. And I did watching a lot of people, like I saw Jack Frags playing it. So it's let me jump and play this game, man, because I already know it's fun. And plus Slomo probably bored as hell over there because he ain't got nobody to play with. But I digress on that. Yeah, he playing by
yeah,
himself. Pause.
yeah. I'm on PC. I haven't beat the game on PC. I've platinumed it on PlayStation, and I
Wait,
did,
whoa,
and I
you
beat.
platinumed it?
Yeah, I did a platinum on that years ago.
Oh, you're talking about Elden Ring. Okay, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay.
What are you talking about?
I was talking about First Descendant.
Oh yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
about to say you
I
platinumed it. Wait a minute. Hold
eh,
up.
no, it's not. I mean, shoot, the kind of hours you have to put in to get that done.
I was
I don't
thinking
know anyone
Destiny in
that's.
my head. Yeah, it's like that took a
Yeah,
long
I don't
time.
think I don't know anyone that's beaten the story yet, but this game is so much like Warframe. I was watching a couple of streamers that are further along than I am while I was working, and I'm talking about like people were they got ultimate uh Glay, whatever her name is. They got ultimate characters already. They got level 30 on those characters. They try and get max level. And then I start to notice some things. They're talking about getting particular items so they could prestige their descendant and then start over from level 1. And I'm like, that sounds real familiar. Prestiging your descendants and then start. That's what they do in Warframe. Now, we talked before, and I even did a video about how the first Descendant gives me a lot of Warframe and Destiny vibes. I did a whole video on it. Really like my thumbnail, by the way.
Yeah,
Um,
I did like your thumbnail.
it's more like Warframe than I thought. Cause that part right there had me like, oh, okay, I see what kind of end game this is going to be. So when we get into the first Descendant, like really discussing it, I can break down what you can expect end game to be for this game, because it's going to be basically what Warframe's end game is. Which for some people that might actually be pretty awesome, and some people may not care for it. But we'll get into it.
Yeah, we'll get into it. But I feel like I feel bad because we've been talking this whole time and we done had a third person here that's been
Mm,
patiently waiting you
To
know,
be
for his
introduced.
to be introduced. And, you know, once again, you know, I did, you know, being the host, I'm supposed to tell Slomo to shut the heck up, but
Oh,
I'm
it's
too
my fault.
nice.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
too nice. I'm too nice. And it's mostly my fault. But I am not going to allow that to happen any further because we are joined by an amazing person. Dude is very, 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 very renowned when it comes to like his information, when it comes to like the tech side of everything. I really, really appreciate him and all the knowledge that he brings. Very low headed to that. He's also one part of the Brat podcast that we do every Wednesday, 9 p.m. with the homie Enrique, Basement Radar Arcade podcast. His name is Logic, Game Logic. What did we used to call you before? You gave up the thing? We was calling you something?
Hamp.
That's what we was calling you. Hamp. I think I like that better. But Game Logic, what's been going on with you, bro? How you been? Welcome back to the show. It's only been a couple of weeks, and we're happy to have you here, man.
Yeah, I kind of like that better too. I'm gonna go on to Twitter right now and change.
No.
You about to make yourself Hamp?
I'm just saying, it's just my screen name. It's just my screen name.
I liked it when they. I was like, at first I used to be like, who the heck is Hamp? And then I realized who it was. I was like, oh, I actually like that.
So since I dropped my blue check mark, now I don't suffer any penalty for changing my on-screen name. No, man, I've been good. Don't worry about interrupted Slow-Mo. That's why I show up on this podcast, man, because I'll be dropping some knowledge about games.
Slow-Mo is a wealth of knowledge, man.
Yeah, I should have. Look, I you and I were talking before, and I said, look, they have not done first Descendant. Who's the developer again? I can't remember.
Nexon.
Well, that's the publisher, right?
Oh yeah. Hold on, let me find it. Because I just had them. Like I was just talking about them earlier, and now they're.
That's good. That can't be.
It is. Wait, we're done. I'll get it. Y'all keep talking.
That's weird. They are listed as the developer. I thought it was a specific.
But they
studio.
are a big South Korean publisher, and they do a lot. But they do a lot of mostly like mobile games, and a mixture of stuff. So it is not always just the first. But maybe they do have an internal studio. I mean, I don't know. Like they have. Good grief, they have 7,000 employees.
Yeah, I mean, there must be an internal. I mean, because I'm familiar with them as the publisher of Lawbreakers. So, but I thought it was a different developer that they had doing this. But they have not done the job that they need to do to convince me to get down out of my seat to go play this game. So, I mean, I'm glad to be here.
Yep, you're right. Yeah, it is Nexon. Yeah. They had a support studio that was helping, and they show up when you launch the game. But it looks like Nexon did do this internally, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah. But yeah, no, man, I've been good.
You good? So what you been playing? What's been on your radar?
Let's see. I'll just run down the list, and then you can tell me to loop back and specifically talk about if I need to. World of Warships on PC, Megacopter Blades of the Goddess on PC, War Thunder on PC, Darkstar 1 on the Nintendo Switch.
Good God.
Been playing some Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 3 on PC.
I'm sorry.
And I went back to Baldur's Gate 3 on PC.
But why are you apologizing?
Oh, about Call of Duty?
Yeah.
I always apologize to people for playing Call of Duty.
See, there you go, Slow-Mo.
Maybe the next Call of Duty. Yeah, that's hoping too much.
Well, is that? I mean, that's the way I feel when you tell me you've been playing Battlefield.
Yeah, I feel you. I feel you. And guess what? I will not take offense to it because Battlefield's not for everybody. Just like Call of Duty ain't for everybody.
But out of those, I mean,
You want some COD gameplay? You want me to send you some COD gameplay, 14?
You know what? Okay, so let's okay. you know what? Let me address this. Let me address this whole Call of Duty thing.
Here we go.
Because I actually love Call of Duty. I love Call of Duty so much. It's such a great game. It was like the perfect balance, like the yin and the yang to Battlefield. One was more of a tactical, take your time game. Call of Duty was more Russian roulette. When you run into a room, you know, you roll the dice and see what happens. And it was great. But as I got older, I started to not appreciate the way snipers work in that game. Now, if that game had everything, that game could be everything that it is right now, minus sniper rifles, I'll be perfectly fine with that game. But I have a mental block.
The sniping ain't that. It's not that serious, man.
Listen, no, bro, are you serious? People just run around quick scoping people like they running around with like a pistol in their hand.
But I think what they've done, I think the maps have taken care of a lot of that. Like, it is not. This is not Black Ops Cold War where people are running around quick sniping on Nuketown. You know,
well, not on Nuketown, because it's kind of impossible to do it on Nuketown.
I mean, to be quite honest, like in week, like I have not. Say, like it used to be, I would run into somebody quick scoping with sniper rifles like multiple times in an evening of gameplay. Like I mean, I can count on one hand probably in the last like week or two that's been like, it's just not the norm anymore. And I don't know whether or not that's
maybe because I ain't playing enough to see. Because every time I play, for some reason, it happens.
And when it does happen, it's like one dude. You know, it's not like, you know, a squad of people running around quick scoping.
You know what maps in Modern Warfare 3 where you know it's going to be a sniper match, and you can just choose to back out if you don't want to deal with it. You know, like I was playing. I haven't really been playing a lot of COD for a while. It's been a minute. I haven't played COD in I don't know, man. It's been a few weeks, maybe since Elden Ring.
Mm-hmm.
No, I haven't played since. Yeah, I haven't played since, because I was playing some when, you know, you and Taz started playing Destiny again. But like, I may have played for like 1 or 2 days after the Destiny Final Shape came out. Elden Ring, I really haven't played much of any live service stuff outside of first Descendant since Elden Ring dropped. But like, yeah, I mean, like, some of those maps, you get to a particular map. I can't remember the name of it, but it's like
Wasteland is the worst. Wasteland is that one with where there's like a tunnel system like in the center of the map.
Yeah. Everyone hates that map. That one, and the map where it's like a big town, and there's like a base on one side and a gas station on the other. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one is everyone snipes in that. It's just 3 lanes of sniping.
That's that's a Cold War map, I think.
Yeah, our homie Taz knows I can't stand sniping. And I pulled out a sniper rifle in that map one time, and I just went off. It's too easy to snipe.
I was in the game with you. No, and that's the problem. There's no skill. I mean, I get killed by it. It irritates
the thing is,
me.
I wasn't doing the whole run around quick scoping people like a shotgun but I got a sniper rifle instead. I was just, you know, kind of just moving around and just aiming down sight and just capping people in the head from distance. But
I'm gonna tell you,
I don't do that very often, and I don't. And I honestly, those 2 maps we just mentioned, the Wasteland map, I can't remember the last time I played that map, and that other map doesn't come up very often. So it's just like, I mean, if it does come up, it's not voted on. So you don't have anything to worry about, man.
Let's Call of Duty. I'll tell you this. It's same thing. And Luca, you know, if she hears this on the podcast, she'll definitely know where I'm coming from. It's like when I would play Luca in 101 in Destiny, and she would play with her warlock, and I would play with my hunter. I have a mental block when it comes to a warlock floating in the air, and for some reason it throws off my aim. And it was like she would just float in the air, and I know what she's doing, and she would still kill me. And I'm like, it's for some reason I just can't get headshots. I can hit headshots on everything else. I can't hit headshots on a warlock. So it irritated me. And it put me in this whole mindset of F this game, I'm done. And what's that thing what do they call it? Tilt. Tilt is real. Like I am it takes a lot for me to get the tilt, but not when it comes to games like Call of Duty. Because all it takes is one time for somebody, like you said, it doesn't happen. And I do make it seem like it happens a lot. But when it does happen to me slow-mo, I instantly just want to turn the game off and not even play no more. The only reason I stick in there is because I'm in there with y'all playing. But my enjoyment level of Call of Duty drops like considerably the first time that happens to me. And don't let it happen in another game. And at least happens to me once a game. So I'm just like, I'm just screwed. Hopefully with the new movement system and the way that everything's going to be done in Black Ops 6, I have hopes that it's going to be better, but we'll see. But I just
but I mean, like movement doesn't. I mean, it's not going to change how people
it's just
shoot.
Gonna make it worse. It's just gonna make it worse. But maybe I just got to get good. You know what? I'll be the first one to say I just got to get good at the game because the one thing that I know in that game is I don't move like I move in other games in that game. Like I don't pay attention to certain things. I run around corners blindly. It's definitely an issue that I know I have, but it makes me not want to, like, normally you're having fun in the game, so it makes you like, okay, well, let me learn how to do this. Let me learn how to do that. But then when I start playing it and something happens and I'm like, F this game. I don't even want to play it. So yeah, we'll get it figured out. One day, me, you, and Hemp, we need to jump in there, with the homie Sertab.
Hemp plays, he don't tell me nothing.
I know. I tried to get him to play the other day.
Look, man,
Don't say a word about getting online. Hey, I'm playing some Call of Duty. Anyone want to join me? Nothing.
I'm guilty as charged. I am one of those players, and I don't have any problems admitting it because I'm old. Look, I am one of those players that you talk about that say I'm running around being protected by SBMM, and I'll just admit it.
Oh, okay. Well, look, you admit it. You admit it.
So this is even true. Even when we were playing Halo Infinite, look, this is what I have to do to play Halo Infinite with y'all or to play Call of Duty with y'all. I have to get on and play for like a couple hours beforehand, or at least an hour beforehand, right?
You gotta get
no, just to get my enjoyment out of it, so I don't get like Forte is talking about.
So you don't care when you get to the one of our lobbies and it's just.
So if I'm Anchorman, right? If I'm Anchorman for a couple to 2 hours playing with y'all, I don't feel like I've wasted my whole time for the night. Like
I feel you on that. That's how I do be feeling in Call of Duty sometimes.
Yeah,
I do feel that way sometimes.
I gotta admit it. Look, sometimes like when we were playing Halo Infinite, or like when I play Call of Duty with you, and I say, "Oh yeah, I'm done. This is my last match for the night." I show up offline. And I play for like another hour because I have to get mine. I can't. Like I can't, you know what I mean?
You trying to say you can't go to sleep like that? You can't.
No, I can't do that. I can't do that.
Let me make sure Slow-Mo don't see that I'm still online, so I can.
Well, because I don't want to seem antisocial or make y'all feel bad. But look, I can't just be Anchorman for 2 hours and then go to bed feeling like a loser.
This is why.
But
you know what?
Win, though. Hold on. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
This is why I really like X Defiant, and I know like some people don't like. There's some aspects of it that could be better, and I think it's going to take some time. They just started season 1, I think, this week, maybe like yesterday or today. Probably today.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
I didn't even finish the preseason battle pass, so that's on me. That's just because Elden Ring came out, and it
actually started on Tuesday.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, I've been kind of off with it, but and now they do have in ranked, because now that season 1 has launched. There is a ranked mode, and ranked has skill based matchmaking, but casual does not. And they even, in order to kind of like protect people from certain people who may want to try to prey on the newer players, you have a welcome playlist, which is it just rotates all the modes over and over. And the only people that can be in it are people from levels 1 to 25. So it's everyone that's still somewhat new to the game. They don't have all the weapons maxed out with all the attachments and everything. They don't know the map as great as, like, you know, people who've been playing since the very beginning. So they got that, and the casual playlist, no SBM. It's all about your ping. And I can tell you for a fact, I got great internet, and I've never seen anyone higher than a 40 millisecond ping in my lobbies in XDefiant.
Oh,
So it's, if you want to play with some people and have some fun, like I have fun playing with my Division homies in XDefiant. We have some fun playing. We get some matches where you just like, yo, what are these people on? and then I think you're cheating. I don't know for certain you're cheating, but I'm gonna report you and let you be sorted out. You know, like you have those matches, but then it's just like the very next match you could be that dude that they like. This dude slow-mo backslap is cheating. I know he ain't no way he got that shot off. F him. I'm reporting him. It's just like, it balances out because it's allowing people to play against the whole pool of people playing the game. And it just really making it so that you don't have those cases where, especially in Call of Duty, where you look like, how did he survive that? You just unloaded the entire magazine into a dude's back. He didn't even turn around. And you're just like, wait a minute, what? And you check his ping at 97. Just like, you shouldn't be here. You out here playing from Panama or something. freaking Africa, freaking Russia. Like, why are you in my lobby, sir? I don't know what you're doing here. But could you go? And it's just, it's always, you don't have to worry about stuff like that. So I have to say, like, I hope at the very least, because I mean, XDefiant ain't the greatest shooter out there, but I think it's decent. That I think that the example of them looking to be, we all talked about this, how it's too early for, you know, to kind of like judge a live service game success off the very beginning, but
right,
they're doing okay so far. We'll see how it goes long term. But I hope their early success can kind of maybe get some of these other developers that are making the shooter to kind of go, yeah, man, look, we don't need to do SBMM for everything. Because honestly, what's the difference between that and ranked? If you're doing skill-based matchmaking for casual, it's no different than ranked. It's what's the purpose of ranked? If it's going to be a sweat fest with everybody at your same skill level, so much so that you, when you want to play with your buddies, if you're all on different, like, you know, different experiences and different levels on different pages in that game, that people don't want to play with each other because it's just like, well, I'm not having fun because everybody in this lobby is a freaking demon out here.
Try hard.
I want to play people, you know, that's more my speed. And it's like, if you didn't have force and skill-based matchmaking on every single freaking match, there will always be that mix.
Yeah, well, XDefiant is higher on my list right now to get into than the first Descendant. I haven't hit my kind of new game pick in this loop just yet. What's higher on my list to get into is the new Trails game, Legend of Heroes Trails Through Daybreak. That just came out today and is getting pretty good reviews. But like I said, I just haven't made that pull yet. I did want to mention two of the things that I have been playing. Megacopter Blades of the Goddess is for old heads who remember games like Desert Strike. It's an indie game on PC now. It's about 6 to 8 hours. It is brutal, and I would often say unpleasant. I often feel very similar to the way I felt when I was playing through Doom Eternal. I got really mad today because my oldest kid dropped a bottle of pickles up in the kitchen and came down here to interrupt me while I was taking on this boss for the third time after it kicked my booty. But I've actually been having a lot of fun playing that game. I put in like several hours today in a single sitting, just because I just wanted to grind and grit my teeth and get through a lot of it. So if you are interested in the indie scene, check that out. It is like I said, it's kind of like Desert Strike. It's a Halo game. It's got a totally silly, ludicrous story to it, so don't pay any attention to that. But the combat loop is pretty good. It's got a good. It has a progression system. I won't necessarily call it entirely good. There's definitely elements where I'm a little concerned where a lot of the upgrades don't necessarily feel impactful, and I'm pretty certain some of the upgrades do not work as the text reads because like I did an upgrade that says you're supposed to get like
Sounds like Outriders.
yeah I did an upgrade that says you're supposed to get like armor for any pickup that you make, because you have like 3 secondary weapon systems. You can have plasma, energy, or rockets, and you don't have to carry, you can only carry 1, but you still have ammo slots for all 3. So the way this upgrade reads is if I have plasma beam armed as my secondary weapon and I pick up rockets, because there are still going to be rocket and energy beam pickups on the map, I should get rewarded with an armor plus up instead of like the ammo pickup. But it doesn't work like that. But like I said, that's something I've been playing. It's a short game and been having a pretty good time. The other thing that I have been playing is Darkstar 1 on the Nintendo Switch, which is an old game from I think like 2005. So this is a PC port. It's part of the Pets movement, port everything to Switch, which continues in the Switch's going into its 8th year. But it's an old style space shooter game. So very kind of similar to like Free Space or Descent 3 or what did I want to say? I said Free Space 2 and Freelancer in a lot of ways kind of came out with that kind of crop of games. I was a little concerned with how it was going to play on Nintendo Switch. It plays pretty fine. The only thing I'll say is it brought forward 19 years into the future. It brought forward a lot of the bugs that it still has on PC that never got fixed. And that's just with, they're not like bugs that crop up all the time. They're just like some missions that are bugged. And I will own totally being a hypocrite because I give The Witcher 3 a ration of crap all the time for still having side missions that are broken, that were broken when the game first came out, and it's been re-released like 59 times, and they never have fixed some of those side missions. This is kind of the same way. You have things like, you're supposed to pick up a container and then bring it back through a hyperspace gate, but then like you approach the hyperspace gate and the hyperspace gate won't trigger, and you don't even get the menu button like lit up. It just stays grayed out. So you have things like that. I'll admit I just have to work around those and figure out which missions, which side jobs not to take. But other than that, it was enjoyable. I played it. I took my Nintendo Switch LCD with me on vacation here over the 4th and had a good time playing that in the hotel room. So
it wasn't inferior hardware. You enjoyed yourself on that Switch, didn't you?
Yeah, I commented. I think I put it on my Twitter account either while I was gone or maybe right before. Look, I've got the Switch LCD and the Switch OLED. I also have a Steam Deck LCD and a Steam Deck OLED. And there are a lot of things that play with better fidelity on the Steam Deck, but I still prefer the Nintendo Switch Ergos in a lot of ways over the Steam Deck. I don't really like the Steam Deck controller ergonomics. In fact, quite often, if it's convenient, I would rather put the Steam Deck on a stand and just use an Xbox controller with it, particularly like for driving games and shooter games and things like that. So I don't think that the Steam Deck, and I think this is proven by games that we still see developers porting to the Switch, I don't think the Steam Deck came along and took the air completely out of the bag for porting PC games to Switch. It still happens. Developers still clearly think they can make money. People are still clearly buying them. So, I could play Darkstar 1 on the Steam Deck. I think I need to look to see if it's compatible. I have it on PC. I have it on Steam. But it was still worthwhile for me to pick it up on Switch just to have it available in a lighter easier to hold package that is more comfortable for me to play on.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. So with all the introductions, our usual 30 minutes into the show before we actually get to the first topic. So you feel right at home, Logic or Hamp. You right there. We appreciate you. But let's get into the first topic. Let's talk about Star Wars Outlaw has finally gone go, officially has gone go. Game, I believe, has a August, I want to say early, is it August 14th? I can't remember exact date that the release date is for that game. But right around the corner,
It's
and
it's Labor Day weekend, isn't it?
is it? That's
I thought
September.
it was. I thought that it had the same release date as. I thought
thought
they
it
were
was-
doing the same thing as Starfield. Well, it's August 30th, but the way the calendar is
Oh,
this year,
okay,
it falls
yeah.
over Labor Day weekend.
Okay, so yeah, so I knew it was in August. Okay, so the early, okay, got you. So yeah, games releasing late August. It's like the start of the holiday season for a lot of people. We all know Madden is the beginning of it, and then it just game after game after game when it comes to that. Um, so I'll go to User's Logic. So what is your interest in this game as of right now, if any?
It's there. I mean, look, I think it's known that I'm an Ubisoft stan. So whether I play it right off the bat. I mean, even games that Ubisoft comes out with that I say that I don't like. I mean, what seems to always happen is, like I've been a long time Ghost Recon fan, and even I can't remember the last two games names, Break something and the other one. Both of those games came out to not great reception, but at least the PC versions of them eventually get good over time. So even if I don't jump on it, day one, I eventually always find my way back to an Ubisoft game. I'm totally fine with their formula. I know people don't like it, but I'm fine with Assassin's Creed and its multiple flavors, single player, kind of linear, story driven or open world. I'm fine with both. I'm like that they're going back to making both now. I love the Far Cry games in general. Yeah, this is highly likely to be a game that I'm going to play. I don't know, just because this year is weird for me in terms of my taste. I'm playing a lot more JRPGs this year when I'm historically not a JRPG person. I'm playing a lot of turn-based stuff. I don't anticipate right now that I'm going to fall into the holiday season zeitgeist of feeling the need to play, every game that is kind of, everybody's kind of yapping about. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, it definitely has my interest.
Yeah. So Slow-Mo, what about you?
Look, I like Massive Entertainment, and they're the Ubisoft dev that's doing Outlaws.
Is it your favorite game?
Well, I mean, not favorite game. One of my favorite games, but
one of my top 5
this
favorite
is-
studios, I should say.
Hey, there
I
you
like
go.
the
There you
studio.
go.
I like that studio. Studio did awesome.
They've made one of the best game engines that's out there with the Snowdrop engine, and I think it's the reason why you see with Ubisoft that they adopt that engine for so many different games. That said, like, I think Massive is really good at looters, and I don't think they've quite proven that they can branch out to other genres yet. You know how, like, we look at playground games and we say,
I was just gonna say Playground
racing,
is in the same situation.
right? But it's like, I would say that, and even this is even me being a massive Division stan and a massive, fan of, using the word massive too much, but a fan of Massive Entertainment. Their games have not had the kind of critical success that Playground's games have, and so people have more confidence in Playground being able to do that than Massive Entertainment does. And after Avatar, which I think, beautiful game, probably one of the best looking games that have come out this generation.
Oh, yeah,
absolutely
absolutely.
fantastic on the visuals. Boring as all get out. I could not complete it. It was too boring. The game, and it's not like, it's their attempt at a first person perspective game, which they've done in the Division is third person perspective. And I don't even think that was the issue. I don't even think the shooting was the issue. It was just too, like, the actual gameplay and the things to do were just not quite there. And even though, like, from what people said, the story canon wise matched what Avatar is about, it's just it didn't really execute on what people want from a game like that. And that kind of got me thinking, because Massive is a really big studio. They got like 800 developers. They work on multiple games all at once. A lot of the same people that were working on Avatar are the same ones that are also working on Star Wars Outlaws. So I kind of wonder, like, I've seen the videos and I've seen them discuss, what you can do and flying around and the side quest stuff. And I'm like, that does seem more interesting than Avatar side quest stuff, but it is the actual gameplay of Outlaws that has me somewhat like, I'm interested, but not that interested. So for me, I am going to play it because I'm going to do what I usually do, which is I sign up for Ubisoft Plus. Again, I'll play it through Ubisoft Plus. And if I really like it, love it, then I'll buy it on Steam and I'll own it. But then if I don't really care for it, what I'll do, or if I beat it, but then it wasn't all that to me, then I'll just cancel Ubisoft Plus and keep it moving. That's what I did back in December. I signed up for Ubisoft Plus because they were coming out with Star Wars not Star Wars Out. They were coming out with Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown, and they came out with what was the other? Oh, Avatar. Well, I was just talking about. So those games came out back-to-back months. I signed up for Ubisoft for 2 months, played as much as I wanted, and then I just canceled the service because it wasn't. I looked at what they had left coming out for the rest of the year, and until Outlaws comes out, I would not have been using that service whatsoever. Because the games that they have that I play, like Division 2, I own it. And so there's just no need for me to have Ubisoft Plus at that point. So I canceled it. So I mean, for me, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm going to try it through Ubisoft Plus, but I just don't think, I don't know, like I'm not going to say Massive is a one-trick pony. I'm not going to pass judgment on them. I just I don't have that level of confidence in them that I've had in like Respawn and Gorilla and Playground.
Right. Yeah.
Go ahead. One thing that's weird to me, and I haven't tracked this down yet, but I've talked in the past about how Ubisoft has this system. They've had it for a very long time. Far before Xbox even grew to the number of studios that it had. They've had it, I want to say, since the early 2000s, or maybe going into 2010. An internal system that allows them.
Guys, I'll be right back. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That allows them to tap talent across studios and swing them right to different projects. So that if you have a visual effects artist who is not, who isn't doing 40 to 60 hours a week at Red Storm, right, and has some idle time, getting that developer tapped and getting them working remotely on a game that, say, Ubisoft Montreal is doing. One thing that's very, very weird to me is whenever you see an Ubisoft game, you typically see a list of like a half dozen Ubisoft blah, 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 right? Pick a geographic location out of your hat of teams that helped work on the game. When Massive Entertainment is working on a game, it's a very short list of repeat studio. Like it's, Massive works with Red Storm, and I think one other studio whose name I can't remember right off the top of my head, but it's not like Ubisoft Montreal, Ubisoft Toronto, Ubisoft, Sri Lanka, whatever. Like it's not like the typical list of Ubisoft in front of their name type of studios. And I don't know if that's driven by technology or maybe the Tom Clancy license, or maybe it's like comic books. It's like, certain books are on the Avengers desk and certain books are on the X-Men desk. I don't know exactly what it is, but going back to what Slobo was saying about, Massive has not really executed on a game where they have to have really strong, big storytelling chops. I mean, but you have studios like that across Ubisoft, right, in multiple locations. So it's just weird to me that that's I hesitate to call it like a weak point or a weakness in kind of that little pocket of studios, but it's weird to me that in Ubisoft, which, you know, one of its strengths is really swinging that type of talent or any type of talent around, you know, in multiple directions to get the right talent on the game that needs it. It's weird that seems to be like a shortcoming.
Yeah, no, it's the thing is like, you know, Ubisoft has a lot of different issues when it comes to like game design, game function. You know, a lot of people like the thing that I like about the Ubisoft games. I like the fact that they're open, like most of them they're open. Just didn't like the repetitive nature that a lot of the games did have, where it just seemed like everything was just like paid by numbers when it came to them. But I also do think just having fresher eyes from different development houses or different studios working on these different things would definitely actually help that too. And they definitely put some better strides in place to actually do that when it comes to the games they've been releasing lately. I feel like Far Cry 6 was, even though it probably wasn't one of the best ones, but I felt like it made strides to try to, you know, make itself a little bit different compared to, you know, its predecessors when it came to stuff like that. But I think the biggest thing is when people look at studios like Massive, because I'm definitely really interested more because it's a Star Wars game than who it's made by. You know, I kind of go with Star Wars just because it's the IP, and what I saw is very easy for me to like fall in love with something like that in general, especially open world. Because I was a person that played Knights of the Old Republic, and I played the MMO a heck of a lot when it first came out, like almost I can only imagine if I had kids when that was happening, like when I played as much as I played at this time. But I just think that there's just this dynamic where, you know, people um just want more from the stuff that they see on the screen. I guess the one thing I'll ask you, Elijah, is like Slobo just said it when it comes to how he's going to play the game. Like he's going to do it through Ubisoft Play or whatever they call it now, Uplay, Ubisoft Plus. I don't know, but he's going to play it through there for the most part. Do you think that part of me starts to realize like the reason that these subscription services are a thing is not only the fact that they are made to, you know, give the value proposition of games that, you know, people normally probably wouldn't play and give them a chance. But it's also just a fact that there's so many games out there that, you know, when the holidays would come around, you know, that old saying, like, I only got enough money to buy 2 or 3 of these games, but there's like 15 games that's coming out. Do you think that, you know, the subscription service is kind of another way that they're trying to alleviate that by allowing people to play games like Star Wars, you know, Outlaws, you know, for $17 for a whole month? And we already know EA made a living off of that with EA Play, and then EA Play Pro, where on PC at least you would get the full version of not only just the base game, but their deluxe and ultimate editions of the games with the 3 and 4 day early access and stuff. So it's definitely a lot of things going in play when it comes to that. But so what do you think the main reason outside of just recurring revenue it is to get, you know, people to want to play it inside of these services the way that they want?
It's a tough one. So you know, from the business side, and this comes from the perspective of someone who, you know, has been at companies as we've transitioned from an on-prem enterprise licensed model to a hosted model. Um, it's definitely in terms of software development, you know, getting that recurring revenue helps in tons of ways. You know, better operational cash flow, more reliability and predictability on cash coming in, and being able to then better model what your expenditures are going to be over the life cycle of a software application, yada yada yada.
Right.
So I think that's the plus on the side for the company. I would say just in terms of how it plays out, I think I'll go back to what I always say. It's about great games, whether or not you're doing a subscription model or you're doing unit sales or whatever you're doing, expandables like Destiny, whatever. It's all about great games. What I would say is the things that I see, that I feel like I see a predictable market response to, versus a model where there's a ton of churn associated with it. And for people who aren't familiar, like the Achilles heel of subscription services is churn, right? When you just have wildly fluctuating numbers. The whole point of a subscription service today, in terms of the entertainment and content space, is to build up a sufficient catalog with enough bangers, enough tentpoles that people stay in the service. And so I think the things that I see playing out well in terms of predictability, that's not to say what's the most profitable or whatever. It's subscription services that people are building on the strength of a portfolio. So you mentioned EA, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
To me, EA has one of the best gravimetric pulls, right? Because it has a steady player base of people who are every year are going to want to play Madden, NHL, FIFA, yeah, the football club
FC,
now, right?
Yeah, FC, yeah.
Yeah, so all of those things, and now that they've added Codemasters, right? And I think the Codemasters acquisition was about, right, that steady player base who comes back every year to play F1.
Yep.
To play, now they've got the WRC license. And so that is where a subscription service makes sense. And then allowing those people to then access the stuff that isn't coming through annually, right? The Jedi games and the things that Respawn puts out, just in terms of if they ever get back to Titanfall. Those are the types of things that I play well. And I think Ubisoft had an opportunity. If you go back, I mean, it's interesting here, Sloman say he was doing Uplay. If you go back a few years ago, I want to say late 2010, so 2017, 18, 19, when I think that service was first being talked about, that was at the point where I was like, okay, I'm doing the math. I think maybe that makes sense for me to be, at the time, an Ubisoft Plus subscriber, because I love Ubisoft games. And if I buy, I forget how much they're trying, my math was like, if I buy more than 2 Ubisoft games a year, then it makes total sense for me to just do the subscription service. Yeah. And in general, when I'm looking at that time at their franchises like Assassin's Creed,
it was annualized then.
Yeah, Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, Ghost Recon. I'm like, okay, look, it's highly likely I'm probably going to buy 4 Ubisoft games a year, so the subscription service makes sense. And about that time was when the bottom dropped out of Ghost Recon. I was like, oh, well, hold on a second, time out. Maybe I don't need to do that. Yeah, but I think that's where like a service like that plays. And if you're Ubisoft, then you've got your staples and your tent poles, and then you have, I should have said The Division, right? So if you got The Division, Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and those games coming through, and then you're going to periodically have an Avatar, Frontiers of Pandora, Star Wars Outlaws, and things like that. Then like that makes sense for people. Get your annualized stuff plus like the occasional stuff that comes through. So to me, it's all about strength of the portfolio, and that's where I think that offering plays the best. It makes the most sense for publishers who have that. If you're an embracer, you can't do that, right? Yeah, right. Because you don't have those tentpoles and staples. But as long as you have those, forgive the use of the term, those ponies in your stable, right? then you can do something like that. And if you don't have that, then I think what you need to do in order to make your service vastly appealing to a wide market is to have those tentpoles.
Yeah, I remember every year I would find a reason to always have EA Play Pro because it was either a Battlefield game coming out. I was heavily playing it was either Battlefield, it was not FIFA, maybe a Need for Speed game, but there was always two games coming out. Like I think it was a Battlefield game one year, and then Star Wars came out that year, and then it was a Battlefront game, and then another game came out. So it was always two. Oh, the year Anthem came out, I had it. So it was Anthem and something else that came out that year. So as long as I was able to, the year that the legendary edition for Mass Effect came
Mass
out.
Effect, yeah.
Yeah, I did it that way. I bought it. I bought it on Xbox, but I played it on PC. But I did the play on it just to be able to get access and play it at higher fidelity and stuff. So yeah, it's really interesting to see how people kind of react and go about that. Slomo, you back?
I am back.
He is back, the man, the myth, the legend. Before we move on to the next topic, do you want to tackle what I just asked Logic about, subscriptions and why those are so key to like what these developers and not developers but publishers and stuff want going forward? Because like you just said, you're gonna most likely play the game inside of Uplay instead of playing, buying the game outright. And that's kind of what they want you to do. So
Oh, absolutely. Like if you look at Ubisoft's chart when they came out with their pre-order stuff, and they're just like, hey, pre-order these editions. And if you and as you notice, they always have like standard editions off to the left side, right? And then it kind of gradually goes up. There's deluxe edition, digital deluxe, whatever you want to call it, ultimate edition, and then and beside the highest edition that you can get for the game, that's like $120, is Ubisoft Plus.
Yep, played it.
And if you look at the features,
Plus, yeah,
it's the exact same features as the Ultimate Edition. So what does that tell you? They look at you subscribing to Ubisoft Plus the same way they look at you buying the Ultimate Edition. Now, of course, someone's going to be like, well, Slow-Mo, the cost of Ubisoft Plus is like anywhere between $15 to $20 a month, whereas the Ultimate Edition is $120. Well, when they sent that out, if you signed up for it in anticipation for Star Wars Outlaws, by the time it comes out, you're significantly on your way there to that $120. You definitely would have been, at least at the cost of the standard edition. And the way that they hope is that you see the rest of the catalog, you see some games you may have wanted to sign up for, play games that maybe you had some interest in, but you didn't have enough interest to buy them at $70 or full price, or even a sales price, because Ubisoft games go on sale pretty quickly. But hey, maybe you'll give it a shot now that you have the service. I mean, look, I play, even though these games were old, I played those old Splinter Cell games on Ubisoft Plus when I first signed up for it. Chaos Theory, and what's the other one? The Blacklist, something like that.
Splinter Cell Blacklist.
Yeah, so I played both of those, which are pretty decent. And I would not have played, because I'm not big on Splinter Cell, but I wouldn't have played those games if they weren't in the service. So I think that is the goal. Although, unless you have, and this is why I also think that live service is so coveted in the industry right now, is that unless you have games that you're providing a benefit for me to keep playing within your service, then it's going to be really hard to kind of keep people there, unless you're attempting to do what Microsoft is attempting to do, which is provide a ton of content on a consistent basis, which they haven't quite done yet. But by the way that they're kind of, staging things, they should have the quantity to keep people engaged soon. Now, if those games, whether those are the kind of games that will keep people engaged, is a different story, but they should have the opportunity to do so soon. Ubisoft, I don't think is ever going to be there for that, because although as far as their development studios go, they got just as many developers as Microsoft does. They don't release the number of games that you expect from a platform holder,
Mhm.
like PlayStation, Nintendo, and Xbox. And they even come out publicly and said they'll be releasing even less games to kind of curate their portfolio, so to speak. So yeah, it's not worth it to keep it. And I think most services are like that. My opinion here is not backed up by anything, but I believe the majority of the people who have PS Plus only have it for cloud saves, and paid multiplayer games like Call of Duty. That's the only reason why they have it. And the reason why Sony keeps cloud saves behind that paywall is that they I think they know a significant number of people are only sub to it because they don't want to like have to keep a game installed in order to have the save data.
Oh
I mean,
yeah,
why else would you remove the ability to offload your game saves to a USB or something like you were able to do before? You know, like you've always been able to do that with PlayStation. Now you can't. Well, there's a reason. And the reason is they want you to stay subscribed. Like I unsubbed from PS Plus. I had PS Plus Premium. I unsubbed when they made that price increase with zero justification and zero additional benefits to the gamer. I was like, no, forget that. So I unsubbed. But they had already hit me with the renewal, the annual renewal, like a month and a half earlier. So I said, all right, well, it's fine. In April, I will unsub. I'll be unsubbed. I already canceled it, so I'll be unsubbed at that point.
right.
So it's getting closer, and it's coming up to April where my subscription ends. And I'm thinking about, oh yeah, Shadow of the Earth Tree. I played Elden Ring and Platinum it on PlayStation. Let me go ahead and reinstall this. Then I'm looking at like, all right, well, I gotta uninstall some things. And it's just like, oh yeah, I see now. It's this is what was really about. And so I re-upped only to Essential because that's the lowest tier, and that's the tier that has the cloud saves. And that's the only reason why I have PS Plus. So I don't have to worry about, if I uninstall a game, losing any progress when I decide to go back to it and play it. I only uninstalled it because I need space to play something else I want to play, more frequently. So
Yeah, yeah.
this is it's just I think these are the games they play to kind of keep people engaged. And as a gamer, I don't love it, but it is what it is.
yeah, yeah. You're spot on when it comes to that part of it. I think that's the biggest thing that a lot of people are doing. Um, Moving on to the next topic, let's talk a little about a little bit of PlayStation around Helldivers 2. They came in at Hamp looked it up, but I believe it was like, wasn't it close to like it was like 450,000 people was like the peak concurrence on Steam for the game.
That sounds
And
about right.
it dropped, and I think as of right now it's down to like 400, like 44,000 people, which is
Right.
still a really really good number. Like I don't know what people complaining
Well, we
about.
only have we have like Steam charts to kind of go. Like 450,000 is just Steam.
Just
That's not
Steam.
with PlayStation, which was less people, but still a significant number of people. Maybe like I'm estimating here, but I'm thinking probably over 100K at least, maybe like 200K or so people. So it was pretty high at one point. Now I just checked it. It's down to 36K people playing it right now.
So the
As
question,
of as
as
of
of earlier
30
today,
minutes ago.
30 minutes ago. So
Hmm.
the question is this, because we all know that the driving force of that number in particular was based on PC. PC gamers pushed that game into the stratosphere when it came to like the popularity of it. Um, do we do you see an avenue where you see this game make some strides and turns back around? Because you know a lot of people talk about the patches, kind of the game's getting boring at this point. And we always said like what the game's fun now, but what's it going to look like in 3 to 4 months? Like, what's the roadmap going to look like? And it looked like they had a pretty decent roadmap, but I guess the updates aren't as profound as people want them to be inside the game. I haven't played it in a while. I mean, I know you have. I haven't seen you played it in a while either, Slow Mo. But what do we
Yeah, I kind
think?
of checked out of it once my buddies checked out of it. I liked it, but I only after maybe the first week I was only playing it because they were playing it, and so it was
Right.
just whenever you get together with your friends. They want
So
like I
yeah.
did the same thing with Grounded. I did the same thing with a bunch of other games that I didn't personally care for, but my
So
buddies want to play it,
all right,
so
so
I'll do
I'll
that.
ask you. So you being a person that did play it a lot at the very beginning, because I know you were playing with Ramon. Shout out to Trevor Birdsong in the chat. I know you're playing it with him, and you played it with some other people too. Played it with me a couple of times. Um, what do you think needs to happen? Because Sony caught lightning in the bottle with that game. Hashtag just one when it comes to we need one live service game to really pop off. And a lot of people thought that this could possibly be it. But like we always said, the what's the longevity of it going to be over course of time? What do you think they need to do, or what do you think is something that needs to happen to bring people like you back? Or is it just the fact that you feel like you ran your time with the game and you're just off to something else, and there's nothing they can really do to bring people like you back?
Yeah, there's nothing they can do to bring me back. People like me. I I very vaguely kind of have been following along with some of the things that are going on. I always tend to notice when people in the player base were a little disappointed with certain changes that were made, and they 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 haven't made the mistake that other people have made when it came to their games where they ran out of content and didn't have enough content.
Hmm.
I think their issue has kind of been kind of like what we've seen with other developers where they don't listen to their community. They no, I'm not saying they don't. They Arrowhead listens to their community. But listening and then doing exactly what they may want are two different things. And so I think that there's that in addition to the backlash of the whole PSN thing that
Hmm.
really seems to cause a problem for people. And even though I've gone on record numerous times as saying like the people who complain about that, uh, they had valid reasons to complain about what was going on with people who live in territories that uh, don't have PSN, and therefore they bought a game, spent a lot of time, invested a lot of time and money into it, and then weren't able to play it anymore. I think at this point now, people can recognize I was right when I said a lot of those people were just capping and didn't care about any of that stuff. They just cared about um, getting what they wanted, which was to not have to sign in on PSN. And I think when Sony kind of decided to go back on that, they felt like they won. But then when they realized that Sony was still going forward with that, with the other PlayStation published games that were coming to the PC, they did somewhat of what they did when it came to like Ghost of Tsushima coming out, where Ghost of Tsushima was getting review bombed over Helldivers 2, and the Helldivers 2 had nothing to do with the game. So it's just, I think at this point, there's some people that have just soured on everything that is Sony related on PC. And we'll see if that continues. But those are also the kind of people that are very, I think they very much act a lot like console fanboys in some ways, where their Steam Steam like stands. If a game is exclusive to Epic Game Store, they act like the game don't exist until it shows up on Steam. Like those kind of people are the ones that are like really like hard up about this kind of stuff, but they are a big portion, not all of the PC community, but there are a big portion of it. And so, as we've seen in the past, they can influence things. And so, I do think that may be playing a part in what's happening right now. But I think if the game was doing everything that the gamers wanted it to do in game, then it probably wouldn't be as big a deal as it is at the moment.
What you think, Logic?
I think my primary thesis is that it doesn't matter, and what I mean by that is, let's go back to this whole news article starting, right? Was about getting clicks. You look at
absolutely.
Let me digress a little bit from my norm and go in the route of keeping that same energy. Pal World's peak was 2,101,867K 5 months ago. They're now down at 103,682. So their drop off is even greater if we're going to play that game, right? By the same token, let's flip it around in reverse, right? Weeks ago, the gaming media, who we should all know is not my favorite, ran stories about how well Destiny 2 was doing. Destiny 2 is now down at 89K, 90K. So I think what this all really comes back to is it only matters whether or not the game, as its own profit and loss center, its own P&L center, is doing what it needs to do within the publisher and the studio's eyes for that business, that line of business, that value stream to continue being a going concern, right? For it to be making the profit that it needs to make, and for it to not be a drain, right, on resources in a way that somebody decides that it'd be more efficient to do something else, or that the thing is losing money in and of and by itself. So, unless the thing is a loss leader market share play, right, in a larger publisher, and then it fulfills a different business purpose. So, like, it's hard for me to say whether or not the numbers matter. I mean, to me, that can only be answered by Arrowhead and maybe to a lesser extent Sony. But what I do look at is whether or not those numbers, right, the goals that the gaming media and other, as Slow-Mo said, cappers are pointing at as reasons as metrics of success or failure, whether or not they're reasonable expectations. I mean, I'm looking at the Steam chart now. No one's doing 400K. Nobody's doing 400K numbers, right? For daily concurrent players. I mean, the only people doing that are Counter-Strike 2 and Dota. Elden Ring was close to that peak today. But that's, I mean, as great as Elden Ring is, that's a thing that's going to last for a certain period of time, and then it's going to go away. First Descendant's doing 100K current, 200K peak, right? So, I mean, I don't think the expectation for Helldivers 2, a reasonable expectation for Helldivers 2 would be anything near that. I mean, I would pick, I mean, Apex Legends is doing 90K current, 250K. So the question is, where does this game need to be within the Sony portfolio? And I don't personally believe Helldivers 2 or Power World. I think those things are, I hate to say it, I think those things are successes of a given time. They landed at a certain point where people were hungry for a certain thing. Still really don't fully understand Power World, quite frankly. But I don't expect any of them to last anywhere near the way they landed, or or in anything that's going to rank up alongside, PUBG or Team Fortress 2 or Counter-Strike or Dota. I just don't think they're those types of games with that type of longevity,
Yeah.
regardless of the community support behind them.
Shout out to Blade X in the chat who says Blade X has been playing the game on a weekly basis since it launched, and he said that he says they're waiting on a new enemy faction, the update to buff all the weapons, and he says the Luminids faction is coming, and the devs took a little vacation for a week. So devs need vacation sometimes, and that makes perfect sense. Sometimes I say no, devs need vacations. Period. So there's going to be, especially when the developer has been as supportive as Arrowhead has with delivering content on a consistent basis. That makes sense. That said, just because you have a good reason to not have content doesn't mean that won't hurt you in the long run. And what I mean by that is, if you say like you people are stopping playing your game because they feel like, all right, well, look, they got nothing really big on the horizon right now. I'm a little bored, but I'm willing to come back once they got something else. And then, once they do, I'll jump back in. A lot of people say that. I've said that multiple times about a live service game I was playing. And even though my intentions were pure, depending on what was coming out and what was happening may have changed my plans. I mean, like, here is the first Descendant. Are now playing that game. Like, maybe they really feeling that game more than Helldivers and they not coming back. Maybe some of the people will play something. Maybe some of them got into X Defiance first season. Maybe they like it. Maybe they don't come back. My point is that, like, there's a lot of times where a live service game will have to do a moment of reloading, and as so to speak, when it comes to what Arrowhead's doing right now with new content that's on the horizon. Good of them that they communicated to the gamer that new content was coming and what that new content is. Yes, I'm talking to you, Ubisoft, with Division 2, because they'll like, yeah, we got new content coming. They won't tell you anything for over a year. About what that content is. Right. But if you can't even tell me what the content is, then what's the purpose of even telling me that you got new content coming?
That's true in itself.
I think it was good that they at least did that, but just you got to kind of understand the risk that you take. And it's a necessary risk, because you can't just always have more content coming and it being exactly what the fan base wants. It's just impossible to have that on a consistent basis, week in and week out. At some point, you're going to need to take a break, reassess, rescope what your end goals are with the game, and then kind of see if you're going to continue, if you have the resources to keep going, if it's worth it with the players that you have there, or whether it's time to, cut bait, say this was a great success, and then start on the next thing. And I don't think they're starting on the next thing anytime soon, but it's one of those situations where it's going to happen, and it happens to everybody. It happens to Destiny. Destiny goes through lows, and then they're just hoping their community stays loyal and comes back, which they have in the past. And for some other but live service games, they've gone through that, and people didn't come back. So it's the risk you take. It's going to happen.
I mean, there's probably an obvious answer. I just don't know off the, right at my fingertips, and I've been looking for it. Are there any successful games as a service from European studios? And one of the reasons why I ask is, I don't know who's lived in Europe.
The Forza Horizon games. I mean, technically they are a live service, and they
Okay.
Playground is from
They're in the UK.
From the UK,
Yeah. Okay.
That's the only one I can think of at the moment. I can't think of
No, I think if you're
anyone
thinking
else.
of I think if you're thinking of the traditional sense when it comes to like, I mean that's what Forza is, but probably nothing outside of that.
Yeah, I'll look
I
at
can at least think of.
I'll look around a little more because what I was gonna say is, and I don't know how much of this pervades into the gaming industry in Europe, but I mean, large swaths of Europe take off. Like stuff just rolls up like in July, and they're outie to like sometime in August. So vacation wise, so
all in 2 months.
Yeah.
Well, American studios do that too. I think it was a really bad timing for 343 when they did that with Halo Infinite. They had Big Team Battle had broke, and no one could do any matchmaking, and they were on break until this was in December. May have been like a week before Christmas, and they were on a planned break until the middle of January, which actually is something that is common for a lot of Xbox first party studios, because even though Playground is a European developer, they also had the same break. So it's like all of them were all on the same break all at the same time, and they had to bring people back in off of their vacation break to fix Big Team Battle, which, I mean, if you tried it, you couldn't get a single match for like a week. It was really bad. It was a kind of a bit of a disaster, which, the launch of Halo Infinite, despite, reviews and despite people with some revisionist history, it was a bit of a disaster. After the first 2 weeks, people were like, hey, yo, this is it. Because I already beat the campaign, and these 5 maps ain't hitting. These 5 maps ain't it right now. What else you got? Nothing. Right. So it's just like, then when you can't even do Big Team Battle because that was broken, you're really stuck with just the smaller maps, the 4v4 smaller map stuff, and nah. So yeah, breaks can be problematic, man. They could definitely cause a problem.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know if there's anything to that, but I mean, it invokes the question of, is Helldivers 2 also hitting a seasonal lull where there's a plan, and maybe their problem is they haven't spoken well enough to it and haven't communicated and telegraphed it enough. But I would think if they are on that kind of timeline and that battle rhythm, then their plans would be to not to roll out anything big until later this summer, but I don't know.
That's a good point, and I want to get your guys both opinion on this before we move to the next topic. Like you said, they haven't came out and said, like, maybe it's just a communication part of it. I haven't done a good job of like relaying that to people. But when it comes to PlayStation as a whole, we already know we ain't got no first party announcement. So let's try to keep it vague. I mean, keep it short and sweet. How long is too long when it comes to just radio silence when it comes to what's going on with your first party studios?
Over a year. Over a year is too long.
Okay.
Because as of right now, what we know of what PlayStation first party is doing is exactly what we knew last year, May of last year. So May of 2023, they showed off a no gameplay, all CG trailer of Fair Game. So no gameplay. They did the same thing for Concord, which was actually even shorter trailer. And then they, I feel like something's. I mean, no, Spider-Man 2. What's it, Spider-Man 2?
Was it Wolverine?
No. Wolverine was a leak.
Oh, that was
that was a hack, a leak. They wasn't supposed to see.
It was probably the best thing that we got too.
Yeah, we weren't supposed to see any of that.
Right.
Um,
That's right. You're right.
there's a third game, but I can't remember it. Marathon, which we haven't seen gameplay of that either. And so now here we are about 15 months later, and oh, I'm sorry, Helldivers 2 was there as well. Didn't get as much attention as it got when they actually launched. So Helldivers 2, successful launch, has been doing I would say it's been doing pretty well post launch. And if all things are said, and if they never recover their player base like the article said, I think that Arrowhead and Sony would still look at Helldivers 2 project as a success, because I do believe it exceeded their expectations of what they expected the game to do, period. So
Yeah.
it's still a success, whether it's dead now, a few months after launch. I think they made their money back and then some.
Okay.
All that said, we see what Concord is, and there's a lot of disappointment out there in regards to what Concord is. We still haven't seen Fair Games, and we still haven't seen Marathon, and there has been no showcase. Now, I know there's supposed to be a showcase like in August or September or something like that. People have been saying that, but people also thought there'll be a second showcase at the end of 2023. That also didn't happen. So as of now, I would have to say a year, because that's when it gets to the point where, when it comes to what you have in store for the future, and I can't really point to anything that I can say that you're doing in confidence that is good. And what I mean by that is that, like, if Sony Santa Monica showed a game, of course I haven't played it, but based upon their history, I have confidence that it's going to be good. And I have somewhat of a confidence for like Playground Games that Fable is going to be good based on their pedigree, but I don't have that stronger confidence because they've never worked in this genre before. But when you see, say, the next Naughty Dog game, if it's The Last of Us Part 3, I got confidence it's going to be a technical masterpiece. It's going to do certain things based upon who that studio is and what their resume says. And when I don't have anything, I don't have anything. I can't have confidence in something I don't see. Like, people had tons of confidence in Rocksteady when they heard Rocksteady was doing a Suicide Squad, until they saw it, and then they realized it was a live service game, and that's not what they want from Rocksteady. So it's not that, like, you don't like live service games. It's that I know you do really great Arkham single player games, and that's not what you're giving me. And when you get the end product, Suicide Squad just ain't that good a game. And so it really kind of came out that the people's their apprehension with the title turned out to be true. And until we see it, we can't just go off of it. Hey, man, our studios. We good for it. I know you good for what you do. I don't know if you good for what you actually doing right now. So let me know what's good, and that's where I'm at with it. Like, I give, after a year, I'm like, I'm sorry, what are you actually working on with some of these other studios?
Yeah, I would agree to the point, like, partially when it comes to the point of, like, especially with Rocksteady, people bought it, people wanted a particular thing from them and they didn't get it. Now, I do think there is a place for developers to do something different. I don't think people had a problem with them doing something different. I just think once that thing that you do different has to hit, though. It can't be something that misses. So I think that's kind of, I agree with you to the point of, like, it sucked. So that's why everybody feels the way that they feel about it. But if they would have hit on it, it would have been like, oh man, they did a great job on this and a great job on that. So there's a
Plus they had a bad showcase.
Oh
They
yeah, well
had a bad showcase.
well the showcase didn't do it no favors. It pretty much was like the same thing that happened with Guardians of the Galaxy. Like it had a
No, I'm
terrible
not just talking about.
showing.
I'm not just talking about just that. Oh, yeah, the game showing wasn't that great. But I'm not
Yeah.
talking about just the game showing. I'm talking about going back to Sony.
Oh yeah, go back.
Their May showcase in 2023 was not a good showcase.
Oh no, it wasn't. It wasn't.
So when you have
Their
a
impression was terrible.
right, so when that's the taste in people's mouth that you left, pause. You gotta bring something next time you do come back that's going to be like fire. And as of now, like we're waiting on that.
Right. And Logic, same thing. How long is too long, sir? Oh, and you can read your boy super chat if you want.
Oh yeah. So Otacon Ocelot says, and I think he's saying this in response to Slow-Mo's comment. He says, I disagree. To be honest, I have too many games that I can't play, and I only play PS5. I work a regular job with kids, and I can't keep up with the backlog. Let them cook, I think is what he was saying.
I mean,
Thanks for the super
I
chat.
get that.
Thanks for the super chat, bro.
Thanks for the super chat. I also have a lot of games. I also, I play on all platforms and not just PS5, but I do also have a regular job. I do work from home, so that's giving me a little bit more opportunities than he may have. But yeah, I'm not saying like if they had a great showcase, if they came out with a great showcase tomorrow, next week, because tomorrow's Saturday, a great showcase next week. That doesn't mean, I mean, what's that going to do for my backlog? I can't play those games right now. Xbox had a great showcase last month. None of those games they showed that showcase can be played right now because they're not out yet. Having a great showcase isn't about playing those games right now. It's about being confident and being happy with the future of games that you will be getting in the future. It's not about what you're playing at the moment. You can finish your backlog before those games come out, and they can still have an awesome showcase showing you the reason why you should be excited for the future. But like, it's still the future, and it's still also a part of like giving your community, your audience, something to look forward to. And that's the purpose of all of this. Is the reason why it's marketing essentially. It's the reason why developers and publishers spent millions of dollars to get like a 30-second slot or a minute slot in Jeff Keighley's events. It's the reason why these companies spend millions of dollars to host their own thing. And it's because if you don't show the games and you don't show them well, they could be freaking awesome and no one's going to buy them or know they exist because you didn't do your job in showcasing the game the way it needed to be shown. So
I think for me, and so the things I'm about to say have nothing to do with me, like, how do I say this? Not having any regard for Slow-Mo's opinion, right? It's just a different perspective, and it's a lot of it's I think also driven by maybe age a little bit. But like for me, so for me for showcases, and I think I've mentioned this on BRAP and maybe a few other places, like where I am right now, I don't, my consumption of showcases is based on how many games are shown at the showcase that pique my interest, right? That I put on my personal watch list, that I decide I'm going to keep track of through their development cycle, that I'm going to keep my ears and eyes open for news about how they're going. What I'll then add to that is, again, I think I've been on the record as saying this, is that I am neither impressed or disappointed by reveals and trailers. Reveals and trailers mean very little to me. The only thing that they show to me is they show me genre. They inform me of the studio that's doing it. genre, general design approach tells me whether or not it's in my wheelhouse or not, and whether or not I'm gonna be interested in it based on the studio associated with it reinforces that based on their past pedigree. The only trailers and reveals that I really care about are ones that are right before game releases. Anything that's pre-production to me means very, very, very little. So going back to Forte's question, you know, how long does it go, you know, I guess before you're saying, you know, there's a concern or something. I don't necessarily care. What I care about is what have been the deliveries and how good have those deliveries been. What I feel relative confidence in is, you know, there's always going to be games. It's just a matter of whether or not the games are going to be any good or not. And studio performance is going to tell me, right, how that's going to go, or where I'm going to have my confidence. When it comes to a console and or a subscription service, right, then you also get into matters of portfolio, right? Am I going to stay subscribed to Netflix when Stranger Things doesn't show up, right? So there's differences, you know, from that perspective in terms of Xbox and PlayStation with, you know, what Xbox is doing versus what PlayStation is doing. So I don't really know that it's a big deal for me whether or not, you know, it's been a year or been 2 years. I've always kind of come back. I think when I first started showing up on the shows, you know, I asked you guys a question like, what is the minimum in terms of a delivery? Like, if you go and you buy a $500 console, how many titles do you need to have delivered per year that are in your interest lane, that are good enough games or whatever for you to feel like you're getting your return on investment on the console? Do those have to be first party? You know, I don't know. Everybody's kind of different about that.
Yeah. I agree with that. Because just to answer that part, I put over close to 2,500 hours into Destiny, and the reason I bought my Series X is because of the 60 frames per second patch that they had on there. And that game I played way more than any other game on that system, and I will tell you that I got my money's worth out of that system playing just that one game, and anything else that was added to that experience was a bonus. But go ahead.
So there we go to, right, then when I come back to is when we talk about the businesses, right? what is the market performance? Forte, what you just said, it puts you in the bucket of, I mean, you did it for the 60 frames per second patch and the upgrades and stuff that came on, but you're also in that fleet of people that if you weren't wrapped around the axle about that, you'd have been perfectly fine staying on Xbox One or the last generation, right? Because you're playing a game as a service that is the same game regardless, right, over its life cycle.
Oh, so, yeah. Performance is what made me move. So that's the biggest difference between me and people that's still on 360 or Xbox One and stuff like that. People that still haven't upgraded from PS4s and they're talking about how they're being held back, you know, it's because people are still on Xbox One and PS4. You know, those people, I try to tell people all the time, those people will move when you give them a reason to move. Right now, they have no reason because all the games that they care about are still playable on those particular same platforms. And they're not the ones that care about performance and stuff like that, because if they did, they would have moved already.
So that brings us to, right, so Ramon says in the chat, 2023 showcase was awful. They really need to bring heat on the next one. So I'm not going to agree or disagree with whether or not the showcase was bad, right? Because like I said, people have different criteria. What I guess what I look at or I consider or what's up for discussion is does that matter? Right, the showcase, it certainly matters to us because we're on a podcast talking about it every week, right? But 96% of the rest of the gaming market doesn't, right? And I don't think that they care, and I don't know that moves the needle for them. So the question really becomes, you know, what is driving? So some people are going to walk into, and you know this better than anybody, Forte. Some people are going to walk into Best Buy and walk into GameStop, and they are going to know what they want. But a bunch of them, a large number of them, maybe the majority, maybe a very high percentage, even if they think that, you know, are going to walk into GameStop and Best Buy, talk to the guy who works there or girl, and say, what do you think I should buy? What's your opinion? Blah, blah, blah.
Very, very true. Very true.
And the question is, so where the market is today, I'm not going to say you're going to say this, Forte, but somebody is going to say, I'm not sure what's coming on PlayStation, but this is probably coming out. This is probably not. But over the last 5 years, 10 years, right? This is their record, right?
Right.
And Xbox, is going to be however they articulate it. So to me, it's a matter of that, right? Who gets recommended to buy what? Who buys what on what strength? Do they buy it on? And I'm just going to bring this up as a for instance. Yes, Xbox maybe arguably had a great showcase, but what's in the back of my mind is that Xbox's deliveries haven't been consistent. They haven't stuck the landing. There are a lot of games shown that, to me, based on that record of past performance, I have a lot of questions about how they're going to come in. Are they going to come in hot? Is the approach going to be, we'll get them out, we'll get them in the subscription service, and then we'll fix them over time? And right now, I don't know.
That better not be the case. They have done that. I would say Xbox overall have done that for the past 3 releases. It would seem, maybe not Hellblade 2, but if Hellblade 2 gets a surprise gamers, there's a 60 frames per second patch for the Xbox Series X for Hellblade 2 in like October, you can add them to the list too. But even though Redfall bombed, it had way more issues than just its frame rate. Redfall fell in that category of a game that was released unfinished. And probably shouldn't have been released at all, frankly. Starfield is another game that released unfinished. When you got features missing, then yeah, it's an unfinished game. Like it's content's one thing. Shattered Space is going to be new content, but when you got like stuff that was supposed to be there at launch and it wasn't, yeah, you just released the game too soon. And I think that I do agree with that with you when it comes to like what they showed looked promising. Like South of Midnight looked fantastic. I think that might have been the biggest surprise of the entire show. But and I think it makes less sense for them than anyone else. They showed so many games at that showcase. You would think that you wouldn't need to rush your developers to get games out before they're really polished, Mm-hmm. But that seems to be happening, and I just kind of like they got a lot of games that are potentially lined up for the latter half of the year. Yeah. If the game ain't ready, just push it to 2025. Like, I mean, it's not it to me, it's just like I don't see any justification for putting a game. I've never seen a justification for putting a game out there when it's not ready, and then you end up like, oh well, people didn't give it a chance.
Well, you can't recover. You can't recover when you do that.
Yeah. Oh, it's a completely different game than it was at launch, like Sea of Thieves. I'm like, well, whose fault is that? Because I'm not coming back to Sea of Thieves. I don't care how much better it is now. You missed out on a player, not me missing out on an experience that I don't really, think I care to have. It's just they can't keep doing that. And so hopefully in the future, now that you got like all these studios supposedly dropping games, that you're not doing that no more either. But we've been down that road with this leadership group before. They said they apologized for this in 2018 when they did it with State of Decay 2 and Sea of Thieves. They apologized again with other games in the past. It's the same. Like until they actually stop doing that is when I will be confident that it won't happen any further. But my bad, Logic. Go ahead, man.
No, I mean, and I apologize for taking so long. And quite honestly, I took so long because I kind of had to chew my food through that, right? Because I feel about it a certain way. I know some other gamers feel about it a certain way. And I think Forte, that's kind of I think to me, that's the kind of the answer to your question. How long is too long? It's too long when it starts negatively impacting console sales, software sales, and people start losing confidence in the brand. And until it hits that point, if I'm in my business head, I'm like, I don't know that it matters. Maybe it's disappointing, but I don't know that it matters. No. Nintendo does directs left and right. Every other one that are arguably bad, right? That don't move the needle for me, that I'm like, I could care less about, right? But that thing is a monster, right? And it continues, and we have sayings like Nintendo gonna do what Nintendo gonna do, yada yada yada. So to me, it's when that becomes such a thing that it starts to negatively impact the brand equity. I don't think PlayStation's has done that to a point yet that is significant to where it's in large numbers negatively impacting console sales, negatively impacting software sales. I think
You want to know the funny thing though?
things to restore confidence in the Xbox faithful, but I don't know that it's done enough to make that person, when they walk into the Best Buy and the GameStop, like either go in there to get an Xbox or go in there and hear a recommendation that that's what they need to buy based on their showcases and what's been put out.
So I'm gonna give a funny story, and this is just off of today in my little corner of the world. Because you're right, and I feel like the biggest thing when I hear people talk about the sales and how they're impacted and how PlayStation isn't selling consoles as much as they were before, and Xbox isn't selling consoles as much as they were. We all know that Xbox, they have a communication issue with telling people that they don't need something when they technically kind of need you to be able to buy that system to foster the ecosystem they want inside of Game Pass, because you're not going to get PlayStation and Nintendo to do it for you. And PC has kind of stagnated a little bit to the point where I don't think you're really going to see it there. And mobile is like, we're light years away from mobile really penetrating what they want inside the Game Pass, if that even happens. So I feel like, with Xbox, they need to start talking about how Game Pass is the companion to your Xbox and why you should have an Xbox, to start having that conversation. And once they start doing that, I think they'll actually see that Game Pass number go up, because they have the content that's releasing. But when it comes to PlayStation, I always felt like never really had anything to worry about, as much as it sucks. And I think, like you said, it's a disappointment, like for myself, for Slow-Mo, for a lot of people that are like, shout out to the What's Up crew over at What's Up PlayStation. Very disappointed that PlayStation hasn't come out and talked about it, because it was really spurned by the fact that Xbox had that really good showcase. It wasn't hating on the showcase, but just really talking about how PlayStation needed to do something like that. That's just because they're frustrated, and I get it. But today alone, I sold 7 PlayStation 5s today at work. I sold 2 Xbox Series X's at work. And guess what they were for? They were all for one game. NCAA football 2025 that's coming out for the first time.
Absolutely.
So, dude, people were trading
I'm buying it.
I'm doing it too.
On console. I'm buying it on console, because it's not on PC.
It's not on PC. So,
You're right.
It is next gen only, and all of these people, like literally, I was asking, like, because I was asking, hey, do you want to get any games and stuff? They said, oh yeah, I want to pre-order NCAA football. That's why I'm doing it. And literally, of the 9 consoles I sold, every last one was like, oh, I got to get it for NCAA football because it comes out in a week and a half. And guess what? That is moving the needle for a game, because it's only available on that platform. We keep talking about everybody still sitting on these older systems, but this is a game that's giving people a reason to do it. On top of the fact that it has not been available for over a decade, people are excited for that. So let me ask you, and this is the thing that ties it all together. If this game can do it, what do you expect Call of Duty to do when it finally goes next gen only? What do you expect Madden and NBA and when GTA 6 comes out? What you're gonna see? Like, people think numbers for consoles were ridiculous before. You're gonna see a whole nother level of consoles being so. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if PlayStation has like yearly annual financial numbers of like 25 to 30 million consoles sold in a year.
I sent you some more gameplay, by the way.
Oh, you did? Okay. But yeah, that really, like, it didn't shock me today. It just reaffirmed like what I always thought when it came to like why people are sticking with the consoles they have. And it's like you said, they're pretty much playing the same exact game, and there's no tangible benefit for them in their eyes to feel like they should move. compared to like now, there's a game that's available that's not available on those consoles. Now people are finding reason to move over, and PlayStation knows that. So they're using third parties and all of these other, avenues to basically talk about the games and stuff. That's why you see in all their showcases these third party and second party deals that they have in place, like Final Fantasy and Rise of the Ronin and Stellar Blade and stuff. They're using those games to try to entice people to come over. But the more and more titles we get that people truly care about, that can only be played on these next gen consoles, that's when you'll see those numbers skyrocket even more. And by that time, PlayStation probably feels like they'll have their offerings out there to even bolster that lineup even more. So, that's kind of where I think it kind of falls at this point. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly how that lines up.
Yep.
Besides, we all know that the PC gaming showcases were the best showcases anyway.
Hey man, let's be for real here. I'm with you on that. Slow-mo, we are looking at your gameplay for the first Descendant because I just downloaded it last night, so I haven't got a chance to jump in there and play it. You also make content for the game too, so you're definitely feeling this game to the point where you're spending more than just playing the game time doing it. You're actually helping people along the way in it. So what are your thoughts on like the first week, 2 weeks of the game being out fully? And
Well, not even that. You said
it's
2
only been
weeks.
it's been like
It's been a couple days.
Yeah, a couple days. That's right. I don't know why I said a few weeks. But so what are your thoughts on just where the game is right now? Like what like just your excitement around it, and what do people have to look forward to if they did jump into this game?
All right, so I will break this down as simply as possible. This game is a much prettier version of Warframe. If you hated Warframe because you didn't like the art style, it looks very like organically weird looking art, characters. You didn't like the way the Warframes looked, or you didn't like the gameplay in particular, but you were kind of down with it being free to play and having all of the characters, literally all the content being grindable. Like you don't really need to spend money in the game, but if you want to shorten the experience and make it faster, then you definitely can go do that and be fine. Then this is the game for you. This will do it. But like this is a bit different because it's like it's a South Korean developer, and South Korean developers love their eye candy. So you got the eye candy aspect to it. But everything that you see there is, for the most part, even the some of the cosmetics you're gonna have to like actual content you can grind to get. Like you can grind for every every Descendant. You can't grind to get some of the skins for these things. So, and with those skins, yeah, they will cost you some money. There's a particular skin called the Ultimate Bunny skin. This one particular skin will run you about $100. And people are shocked, but that's what Warframe does too. It's just that no one ever talks about that because most of the stuff, I think it's called Tenogen. Some of it looks nice, but the only some of the really like hardcore Warframe players will spend that kind of money just to support the developers, because they play the game so much and it's free, and they want the developers to be around. But yeah, Nexon is a kind of a different breed when it comes to that. A lot. You just understand that this is a game that takes a lot of inspiration from Warframe, to a degree, to the point where you prestige your Descendants the same way you prestige Warframes. You grind and create your Descendants by getting specific parts that they need to become evolved Descendants, the same way that you grind for the parts of Warframe to create your Warframes, even down to there being a timer after you grind it all and after you put it all together that you have to wait for it to be completed. Like all that stuff is very, very similar. And
Can I spend platinum to make it go faster?
Yes, You can spend, but their platinum is called Caliber, and you can spend Caliber to make it go faster. Yes, that is the goal. You can buy paints to change the colors of your particular skins that you may have bought for each Descendant. They all play completely different, the same way the Warframes play. The only thing that really I would say is similar to say like Destiny is the mission, the way you launch missions in the open map is the same as the way you would do it in Warframe. But the mission structure, the missions themselves are like Warframe missions. This is they jock their whole style, man. So
you got a Coca-Cola dial on your back.
That is a
Coca-Cola bear backpack.
It's a bear with a can of soda, and he drinks it every now and then. Yeah, I got it free for being in the beta. So they and they've had some server issues. Because I guess they just didn't anticipate having this many players and playing the game at launch. But they've been slowly I think probably the second day was a complete wash for a lot of people because you couldn't even log in. There has still, while you've been playing, a lot of like issues with rubber banding, and I think performance on consoles is really bad. I loaded up the game, did the cross save thing. So you could do cross save if you want to play on multiple platforms. I did cross save and loaded it up on PS5 and the Xbox Series S, both of them. And maybe just because I got very particular eyes, I play in 4K everything now out here. Maybe maybe I'm just get my pinky in the air. I'm just a little Hasidity. But on PlayStation and Xbox Series S, that was a blurry freaking mess. I don't know how people do it. It looked hideous. It looked really bad. And I think the PS5 has some performance issues in keeping the 60 FPS, but the Xbox Series S on performance wasn't bad, but man, it looked like a Switch game. So they gotta work on that. The game, it's a UE5 game, it's an Unreal Engine 5 game, so it's extremely demanding on CPU as well as GPU. So I understand these being consoles, 4-year-old consoles at that there are things that like I can't expect and shouldn't expect the same level of the degree of performance and visual fidelity and all that good stuff that you see off of PC. That said, I wasn't expecting to look that bad. And so I feel like there is some optimizations. Good grief.
That was a
I'll tell you what.
I couldn't get to it fast enough.
Good God. I mean, it was just nasty.
I tried to
phlegmy burp.
Oh man, I was drinking some club soda, and that thing was like, can't get to the mute button fast enough.
Yeah, so I think they need to do some optimization on that front. It's it is a very pretty game on PC and visually, I guess you could play it on like I guess they call it quality mode or whatever on consoles to try to get it to be a bit clearer, but it should be better than that for console people. Like the hardware on consoles isn't that bad where you're justifying the game looking as blurry as it has. But I would think that is this game might have some legs. I've seen a lot of big streamers playing it, and I've seen some that were highly critical of it in beta have been playing it and enjoying it. Now that it's at launch. But again, as we always say, like this is still somewhat the honeymoon period for a live service game. And so you may got some people trying it out now and they may like it for a little while, but how do they feel 2 weeks from now? How do they feel a month from now? How are you, what is your game plan for in-game content? And do you have a good development structure to be able to actually achieve those goals? Like Anthem, believe it or not, had a roadmap. And Anthem, like people talk so down about Anthem, and it deservedly so for a lot of it, right? Because it just wasn't what we talked about earlier about what people expected from Rocksteady. People didn't expect BioWare to do a looter with a bad story. That's just like one of the things that you don't expect from Bio. You expect a good story from BioWare at the very least. But the biggest issue that BioWare had with Anthem was their inability to fix bugs quickly, and their inability to produce content for a looter that requires consistent content dropped at a good cadence. And none of Anthem's roadmap ever saw a release. It's probably the worst roadmap ever because all of it was just vaporware. And when it comes down to it, like you can't allow that to happen. If you're going to set out expectations for what you're going to do in the future, you better nail them. Because if you don't, then this is where we get back to people leaving your game, moving on and doing something else that actually will deliver on their promises. For Nexon and the first Descendant, since they seem to have borrowed so heavily from Warframe, I do wonder if they will attempt to do what Warframe does when it comes to new content. So the way Warframe is that all their new content is free. When they come out with a new story expansion, it's free. But the problem is that because digital streams for Warframe was so small as a developer, and not small like in the usual sense. I think there were about 300 devs for digital streams for the majority of development on Warframe, but that's not enough for a live service game. That's fine this is part of the reason why Naughty Dog said, you know what, we just go and cancel Factions 2, because we can't support this without turning the entire studio into a live service studio, and that's just not who we are. And they're close to the same number of sizes Digital Streams is, and Digital Streams couldn't do that. And even though Nexon's way bigger and has far more resources at hand, I do wonder if they're able to achieve that very it's a very big attempt at doing content, because even Bungie with 3 support studios was barely able to keep the kind of cadence of like one big story driven release on a yearly basis. With Warframe, the Warframe community got used to the fact that like digital streams would not be able to keep their deadline. They will say, "Oh, we expect this to come out next year," and everybody just be like, "All right, whatever. It's not coming out next year." You'll see it like 2 years from now, 3 years from now at best. And that's something that the nature of how Warframe is set up, where they kept, even though they weren't dropping big content, they would drop little content like tweaks to certain modes and stuff like that, new Warframes for people to grind the content to get the Warframe, put it together, and then figure out the best way to use it and stuff like that. These are the kind of things that I can see Nexon doing with the first Descendant, coming out with new Descendants that play completely different. People grind it, but eventually that gets old, and you have to switch it up to a degree where the game feels fresh. This is things that like the very best live service games out there do. And it's almost like effortless the way they do it. And that's how they keep their player bases, because even if they go off to something else, when that game is in like its lulls, they know that due to the history of the game, at some point, there's going to be a big content update that's going to change the game. And they're going to be back for that. And so when you create that kind of expectation with the gamer, then you're going to get those people always coming back, and you're going to be confident that they will. Whether Nexon can do that, I don't know. But I do think the game is fun. I am having fun now. I like making content for it. And I was going to have a video out today about the fastest way to level up your Descendants, but I got the footage and everything. I work made it impossible for me to get that done. But making content for it is fun. And I think it's a fun game. I know there's some people that kind of I've seen the criticism that some people say is uninspired. And I think people are really overusing some of these words. Does it have the best story? No. Most of these games don't have the best story. But like I think people see the borrowing of so much from other games, and then they automatically assume that just like, oh, this is lazy, this isn't this doesn't move the needle, that kind of thing. And I think that small tweaks every now and then could end up having a game become more successful than the game they drew inspiration from. So those are my thoughts. We'll have to see.
No, that's
Logic. Did you play it at all?
No, I haven't.
Oh, I forgot you said you did, and you said you were kind of in a wait and see mode. My bad.
What are you waiting to see, Logic?
I mean, what we talked about before the show is, I mean, really simple is, better reception by the Steam community. It's kind of my, one of my key bellwethers. I would have said a resounding endorsement from Slow-Mo, which I think he indicated that there's some potential, but I don't think it's not the same endorsement that and again, say what you will, that Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 multiplayer got, right? When
absolutely not. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, because at the tail end of last year, I was like, "Hey, Slow-Mo, what's the best first-person shooter out right now? Because I'm kind of thirsty out here." And he was like, "Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3," and I was like, "What?" Like, according to everybody else, it's like super bad. And he's like no, and I took him at his word, and I'm happy with the gameplay that I put into it over the last 6 months. So, I mean, that would have been it. And I enjoy Warframe. It's a game that I've liked. Same thing. I was kind of expecting this from a story perspective, which I don't think that we'll know until we're further down the road. I was kind of expecting a Destiny 2 kind of model where you get like expandables and then and then like smaller content in between. But in general, just of all the things that I've heard over the last week, this has not convinced me to get down out of my seat. I think I mentioned earlier in the show, right now the buzz that I'm seeing from XDefiant in comparison tells me that right now I would line that up as a second backup if I needed it for my online multiplayer kind of time over over First Descendant. I just don't feel like what I've seen tells me that First Descendant is there yet.
Oh yeah, well, a couple more things. I did want to say that the way you know how like in Destiny you'll get like an exotic, and you need to, I actually made a video about this, but like the process of upgrading an exotic to a light level that's appropriate for your current light level or the content that you're trying to do is pretty much the same process in the First Descendant. You go to a workbench and you just you take a weapon that you don't care for, but it does have a let's say you're level 21 and the gun you have is level 21, but when you get new exotics, they're level 1. Everything you get that's like it's not called exotic. It's called legendary. Legendaries.
Yeah.
Legendaries and your descendants, they're all level 1 when you get them. And so there's certain things you need to do because you can't just take a level 1 descendant and just go run into some like late game content. You're going to be really upset with yourself. So you need to go do some grinding or whatever to get it leveled up. But with the weapons, that's different. The way you level them up is you go to a workbench. You do basically what you do in Destiny, which is you take another weapon you don't want, and then you basically transfer that weapon's level to your legendary. It's the same process. Also, shout out to Gregor because I streamed some of my beginning of the game back on Tuesday, and there's this craziest thing in the world. They got a boss in like the first zone. and he's and the voice actor is I don't know who the heck they got to do this voice. Like they could have got anybody to do a better job than this guy. I'm not trying to be mean, but still. But they named him Greg.
I know.
That was his name.
And there is a Greg inside of Destiny.
Are you serious?
There's a Greg in Destiny.
I don't remember that.
No. Everybody calls him Greg. He's been called Greg for like the last 3 years, and he's a lost.
Okay. So it's
it's a community thing. It's a lost sector boss, and we call him Greg. So it's real interesting that they have a boss named Greg.
Yeah, Gregor probably makes a good point. He says the dialogue and names are so generic that I fully believe they just pick things that translate easily with no effort. Yeah, I mean, like Greg is a 4-letter word. It's probably pretty easy to get that into the script. It was just so weird to see this guy. This clearly an alien. He's clearly evil, and he's talking all this trash to you. Over the course of several missions before you finally see him face to face, and the guy's name is Greg. And the whole time, it's just like I can't. Who like clearly nobody like English speaking or like from a different part of the world saw that and was like, you probably want to change his name. Not that it's like it's inappropriate, but it just looks stupid. But I tried to look at it from the perspective of like a Korean person who's, you're born in Korea. There's nobody named Greg that you know. So it means nothing to you that you named a guy Greg as the main villain. Not the main villain of the entire game. He's not the main guy. But it's just like,
there's somebody that was influenced by Destiny, man. They said there's a Greg in here. We're gonna name our actual enemy Greg.
It's just
that's so funny.
It's funny.
Yeah, I saw.
It's almost like having like in Halo Infinite. Remember when what was the name of the one the from the trailer that like unintentionally, I think they named it. I think they gave 343 gave him that name. What was?
You talking about the brute.
Craig.
Yeah,
Craig. They named him Craig.
Craig, right. They named him Craig to kind of like just laugh off the fact that like that was a really ugly still of one of their enemies. But in the game, his name ain't Craig in the game.
No, it's not. It's not.
But it's just they named this dude Greg in the game. Like in I imagine like their developers are just like probably talking to themselves, what's the big deal? Like, why do they keep making a big deal about this one character? And it's just it's just wild, man.
Yeah, you know what's funny when you were talking about, and we're gonna transition over. While we do the next topic, you could be in the, because it's not gonna take that long to go through it, but you could start moving everything over so we could do the last topic over on DPS. But the funny thing is, and Gregor will love this. You was talking about how we infuse weapons inside of Destiny with weapons that boost its light level. But I remember when there was a time where it had to be a weapon in the same archetype. It had to be in the same slot. Like you couldn't, like now you can infuse anything that's a primary into a primary. Remember when you could only do it when you could only do scout rifles into scout rifles, hand cannons into hand cannons. You couldn't cross the
cross the streams.
You couldn't cross the streams. Man, but Bungie came
I watched Ghostbusters.
Listen, Bungie that came a long way, man. I remember when it was like, oh man, I ain't got a post. I want to upgrade this pulse rifle, but I ain't got no pulse rifle to do it with. Now you can just upgrade it to anything as long as you got something that's higher.
Man, yeah. I remember when shaders weren't permanent.
Dog.
Oh man, that pissed me off. That made me real mad.
One time you shaders. No, remember in that's how it was in Warframe at first. Like and then remember when they finally did the shader pack, and then they gave you had to buy it was like 800 platinum, and then it finally gave you all the shaders in the game at that point, just for them to like release new Warframes later with their own shader packs that you had to buy separately. I was like, oh my god, Warframe, man, I love that game. That game was so fun, man. That was the beginning of my descent into live service. But moving on to the next topic, this is gonna probably be a quick one. But we're getting close. A lot of people noticed over the course of the last week or so, ever since the Xbox showcase, that when you go and install, like when you go and look at Game Pass, and you see Call of Duty Black Ops 6 in there because it's going to be in Game Pass day and date. That it's already part of Call of Duty HQ. So when you go to install the pre-install, it has you install basically every Call of Duty that's inside the Call of Duty HQ right inside the
Are we
Game
are
Pass
we on the
right
last
now.
topic?
No, we got one more. This
Okay.
the last one is the one with Alana and stuff. That's why I said we can do
Okay.
this real quick, and then while we're talking about this, you can set it up because it's only going to take like 5 minutes.
Oh,
But
I'm already ready. But just
okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of people noticed that, and it seems like people were wondering, like, when is these games going to hit Game Pass? 'Cause it looks like they're already in the slate for these games to start hitting. We don't know when that's going to happen, but the one thing I want to ask you guys is, what are some games from Activision Blizzard that you want to see in Game Pass inside that subscription service that isn't the typical Call of Duty games that are going to be in there that we know about? What do you want to see brought back, or games that you just want to see in there from that partnership that not partnership, from the ownership that Microsoft has with ABK now?
Nothing much. I just want Call of Duty in there, man. Like that sounds very dude bro of me. Very like, oh, you're such a casual. You don't care about any. But what the heck has Activision really made? Recently, like I think about some older games like Prototype that I own Prototype on Steam. I own Prototype on Steam. I could play that right now if I wanted to. Like in Game Pass, I want something that I don't have that's in Game Pass. And this for a long while where I wasn't playing Call of Duty, and I want to kind of play the campaigns of some of the older ones. I want to go in and do some of the multiplayer for some of the older ones, and then get mad when because the game hasn't been updated in years and the cheaters are ridiculous and rage quit it. I want to be able to do that. So where is the freaking Call of Duty games at? You bought them and was able to make it to the point where you could close the deal last year. And here we are. They put Diablo 4 in there, and then it's just like it's been cricket since. So yeah, I mean, like I expected like that they probably wouldn't mention it during the showcase, but if they did, it would probably be doing like the Call of Duty Direct. That's kind of like a hey, and now that really gets you excited. We got here's the schedule of the older Call of Duty's going into Game Pass. Like I don't think they'll do it all at once. Well, I didn't think they would do it all at once because they will probably want some of the Call of Duty games that aren't the most popular, at least getting some play from gamers. Instead of them just wasting all their efforts putting a unpopular Call of Duty in there compared to the others. Mm-hmm. But at this point, I mean, now we're in July. They still haven't mentioned anything, and you got literally 3 to 4 months before the new Black Ops launches inside of Game Pass. Like, you don't want to put it so close to where people aren't even going to bother playing them. So what's good? Where is it at, man? That's the forget them other games. Activision didn't care about them games. I don't either. Where's Call of Duty at?
Yeah. What about you, Logic? And if you want, you can read your friend's super chat again for us, because you're awesome.
Is that the one about full price games?
Yep.
Thanks for the $1.99 super chat. Otacon Ocelot in the chat says, pay for a full price game is greater than a subsidized game. I'm not sure what this means. Over 3 years, or that took 3 years to develop, or
I think hopefully it's over 3 years. Okay. I don't know.
And I mean, I won't get into detail on it, but I don't necessarily agree with that statement at face value. But we'll leave it at that. I mean, so I think the first thing I'll say is I don't do any subscription services now. So I mean, it doesn't really matter, what they put into Game Pass for me. I would be disappointed if they did something like put something in Game Pass that they didn't make available for sale. I think, for me personally, I don't need anything from Activision, but for them to make amends for one of their most egregious corporate actions, which was buying bizarre creations and then shuttering them.
Mm.
And the only thing I need them to bring back into Game Pass is all of the Project Gotham racing games and Metropolis Street Racer.
I agree with that 100%.
They won't.
They won't.
I know. I mean, first of all, because they have cars with licenses, so I get that. But again, if you're going to make
so much harder for that.
If you're going to make me president for a day and tell me that I can do anything in the world that I want, that's what I would want on that topic.
Yeah, I think outside of what you said, Slow-Mo, having the Call of Duty games like everybody, that's kind of what everybody would want in there. I have the two things I want to be in there. One is a game that never made it to the light of day that I truly want them to finally do with Blizzard. And the other is Transformers. I want Fall of Cybertron. I have Wars Cybertron on PC already. Fall of Cybertron is delisted. Well, they're all delisted at this point because of licensing and stuff. But that was my favorite of the two, and I've always wanted to replay that game again because I never owned it digitally. I only owned the disc, and once I got rid of that disc, I didn't know that I was never going to be able to play it again. So that's one that I hope that I want them to get back. A game that I would love to see hit Game Pass at some point because Blizzard and Xbox stepped together to actually make it happen. I don't know what studio would make it. They have a lot of studios that could do. I am a huge StarCraft fan, and that StarCraft Nova, that was something that I really wanted with Kerrigan, showing when she was it was like a first person shooter, or it could have been third person shooter style of that game. And I think something like that would be incredible to not only get people back into StarCraft, because StarCraft has kind of waned off over the course of the years ever since they came out with StarCraft 3. I think that would be a good way to bring the franchise back and modernize it a little bit by actually bringing one of those, bringing it into a shooter form, which is something that Xbox would do really well in, and then it comes back to multiplayer and stuff like that. So it's all things, it's pie in the sky stuff, but hopefully at some point they do act on and get this stuff for Call of Duty. It'll be really weird to see Black Ops 6 in there and we still waiting on these other Call of Duty. So I kind of think that the majority of all the past ones are going to hit well before the new Call of Duty comes out, because you don't want to really have a segregated player base when it comes to that. But so I'm ready to. Well, go ahead.
Right, I'm just throwing one other title I would like to see Activision bring back is Gun.
Gun is awesome, bro.
Oh yeah,
Gun is so awesome, bro.
It is predated Red Dead Redemption, obviously, but one of the, actually, quite honestly, one of the favorite games I've ever played.
Gun was so awesome, bro. That was awesome. Just let me know when you're ready, Slow-Mo, because I already got it keyed up for it. All I gotta do is just send this over.
All right, I'm just hitting.
And then put the link in the chat when you're done. And as you guys know, last topic, we're moving over to the DPS channel for that one. And within the next 2 shows, we're going to be most likely officially over there. So if you're not already subscribed to that channel, make sure you subscribe to it. We got a lot of changes that we're making to some things in the show that's going to, hopefully make a lot of people happy and stuff like that. But we really appreciate everybody, sticking out with us as long as they have, and you guys are very much appreciated. I'm about to end the show over here, and it should redirect you automatically. But Slow-Mo just put the link to the DPS stream in the chat already. So if it doesn't redirect you, just hit that button over there. You'll be over there too. But once again, we'll see you guys over there. Thanks again for hanging out with us.